The baby weighed 13 pounds. His mother later said, "I don't give a damn about him." He spent 9 years making ATB westerns for $75 a week. He became America's greatest war hero without ever serving in combat. The director who made him a star was the only man who could make him cry. He was paid $3,700 for the film that made him famous, while the supporting cast earned $15,000. He smoked 5 packs a day and had his entire left lung removed. Then he kept smoking anyway. He filmed a movie, Downwind, from nuclear tests, and 91 of the 220 people on set got cancer. At the Oscars in 1979, he wore a wetsuit under his tuxedo to hide how much weight he'd lost. 63 days later, he was dead. John Wayne's story sounds impossible, but every moment was documented. The 13-pound baby, the mother who didn't give a damn, the ATB westerns, the tears, the $3,700 paycheck, the entire lung, the 91 cancer cases, the wetsuit, the 63 days. But here's what nobody understood. What if the man who played America's toughest hero was never supposed to be tough at all? Number 1. 13-pound baby whose mother said, "I don't give a damn." Marion Robert Morrison was born May 26, 1907, at 224 South 2nd Street in Winterset, Iowa. He weighed 13 pounds. The Winterset Madisonian documented it 4 days later. His father, Clyde, was a pharmacist. Every business he opened failed. The family moved constantly. Winterset, Earlham, Keokuk, Brooklyn, then California in 1914, when Clyde developed lung problems. His mother was Mary, called Molly. Neighbors described her as stern, capable of flying off the handle when you least expected it. But the real truth came decades later, after Marion had become John Wayne, after he'd become the biggest movie star in America, after he'd paid for his mother's world trip. His longtime secretary, Mary St. John, asked Molly a simple question. Why couldn't she be nicer to her famous son? Molly's response was documented by biographer Scott Amon. "I don't give a damn about him." 5 words, documented, spoken about her own son, the boy who weighed 13 pounds, who became the symbol of American masculinity, whose mother didn't give a damn. The California poverty was worse than Iowa. Wayne later told biographer Maurice Zolotow about their home. "Guess you'd have to call it a miserable little shanty. Didn't have gas, nor electricity, nor water. Evenings we lit kerosene lamps. Mother cooked on a wood-burning stove. No telephone lines out our way." A stranger visiting from Iowa wouldn't have believed he was in the 20th century. The 13-pound baby from Iowa would spend his entire life seeking approval from directors, from audiences, from America, because his own mother didn't give a damn. Number 2, his name was chosen by men who never asked him. Marion Morrison was working as a $75 a week prop boy at Fox Studios in 1930, moving furniture. Director Raoul Walsh spotted him. Walsh was casting The Big Trail. He wanted to rename the young prop man. Walsh had been reading about Revolutionary War hero Mad Anthony Wayne. He suggested the name Anthony Wayne. Fox executive Winfield Sheehan rejected it. Too Italian. According to Walsh's autobiography, Sheehan grabbed the pencil, then read what he had written. Wayne, not Mad Anthony, just John will do. The name was selected. No one consulted Marion Morrison. He wasn't even in the room. John Wayne was created without John Wayne's input. Here's the part nobody knows. Wayne never legally changed his name. His legal name remained Marion Robert Morrison until his death in 1979. His OSS application during World War II reveals another peculiarity. Wayne wrote that his middle name was supposedly changed from Robert to Michael when his brother was born. But there is no legal record of this change. He lived his entire life with uncertain paperwork. Most remarkably, Wayne despised being called John. In a 1975 interview, he admitted this. "I've never really become accustomed to the John. Nobody ever really calls me John. It's like one word, John Wayne. But if they say John, Christ, I don't look around today." He preferred Duke, the childhood nickname given by firemen. They knew his Airedale Terrier better than they knew the boy who walked him to school. The 13-pound baby whose mother didn't give a damn became John Wayne, a name he never chose, a name he never legally adopted, a name he never liked hearing, and he carried it for 50 years. Number 3, body surfing accident. He was too terrified to admit. Marion Morrison arrived at USC in 1925, full football scholarship, playing lineman under legendary coach Howard Jones. His trajectory pointed toward athletics, possibly the Naval Academy. Then came 1926, Newport Beach, a body surfing accident. Wayne severely dislocated his shoulder. The injury ended his effectiveness as a lineman. But here's what defines everything that came after. Wayne was too terrified of Jones's reaction to tell his coach how he'd actually been injured. He made up a different story. The scholarship evaporated. Without funds, Wayne had to leave USC. The connection to Hollywood came through necessity. Silent Western star Tom Mix wanted tickets to USC games. Coach Jones traded access for summer jobs at Fox Studios for his players. Wayne became a prop boy, earning $35 a week, moving furniture. One day on the set of Mother Machree in 1928, director John Ford decided to humiliate the young college athlete. He had Wayne demonstrate his football stance. Then Ford kicked his hand away. Wayne sprawled face first in the dirt. Wayne's response defined him. He asked for another try. Then he knocked Ford over so that the director was splattered in his own plaster mud on his own backside. Ford was impressed rather than angry. This moment began a 45-year relationship that would make Wayne a star and reduce him to tears. The body surfing accident Wayne was too scared to admit destroyed his athletic dreams, but it gave him John Ford, and John Ford would give him everything at a price. Number 4. John Ford made him cry. The only man who could. John Ford directed Wayne in 14 credited feature films, from Stagecoach in 1939 to Donovan's Reef in 1963. Ford made Wayne godfather to his sons Patrick and Ethan, but the collaboration came at devastating psychological cost. Actor Henry Brandon, who played Chief Scar in The Searchers, stated this simply: Ford was the only man who could make John Wayne cry. This wasn't metaphor. During Stagecoach, Ford publicly berated Wayne. He told him he acted like a poached egg and walked like a hippo. The hazing was strategic. Ford later admitted he wanted the crew to feel sympathy for Wayne, but the humiliation was real. The breaking point came during They Were Expendable in 1945. Ford had served as a Navy commander. He witnessed D-Day and Midway. Wayne had not served. After multiple takes of a simple salute, Ford erupted publicly. "Duke, can't you manage a salute that at least looks as though you've been in the service?" Wayne walked off set for the first and only time in his career, brought to tears. Co-star Robert Montgomery, a decorated World War II boat commander, confronted Ford. "You don't dress down a man in front of the troops." Ford himself ended up weeping, but he never stopped. On Fort Apache in 1948, Wayne's own son, Michael, witnessed Ford reducing Henry Fonda to tears. "I literally saw tears coming out of Henry Fonda's eyes." Yet, after Ford's death in 1973, Wayne told a newspaper this: "The man was my heart. There was a communion between us that not many men have. I have never been closer to any person in my life." The 13-pound baby whose mother didn't give a damn found a father figure who made him cry, and called it love. Number 5. 9 years making 80 B-Westerns in Hollywood's Devil's Island. The Big Trail in 1930 was supposed to make Wayne a star. The $2 million epic featured the newly christened John Wayne in his first leading role. It flopped catastrophically. By Wayne's own count, he then spent the next 9 years making approximately 80 horse operas for studios like Monogram, Mascot, and Republic. Biographer Scott Eamon calls this period Wayne's exile to Hollywood's Devil's Island. After you failed at Fox, you were exiled to Monogram and Republic, and you never got back. It was like Devil's Island. Wayne was now considered damaged goods by major studios. The finances were brutal. After The Big Trail, Wayne earned just $1,750 per film at Republic. 8 films for a total of $14,000. He ground through forgettable titles: Riders of Destiny in 1933, where he became one of the first singing cowboys. His voice was dubbed. He made serials: The Three Musketeers, Shadow of the Eagle. He appeared in The Deceiver in 1931, playing a corpse. Most revealing, Wayne signed a long-term Republic contract just 1 month before Stagecoach was released. Committing to Sikhs, more B pictures. He had accepted his fate. Then everything changed. John Ford asked Wayne who should star in his new Western. Wayne recommended Lloyd Nolan. Ford responded, "Hell, Duke, can't you play it?" The man who spent 9 years making 80 B Westerns for $75 a week was about to become a star. But he would be paid less than the supporting cast. Number 6. Stagecoach paid him $3,700. Supporting cast got $15,000. Even with Ford's support, selling Wayne proved impossible. Producer Walter Wanger wanted Gary Cooper. Studios rejected funding because Westerns were out of vogue and Wayne was a B-movie failure. Ford refused to make the film at all unless Wayne got the part. The compromise revealed Wayne's status. Claire Trevor, the actual star, received top billing and $15,000. Supporting player, Tim Holt, got $5,000. Wayne received $3,700 total, less than a supporting actor. The budget was slashed to $250,000, half what Ford wanted. Wayne's reaction to Ford's offer reveals his psychological state after 9 years of failure. "I felt like I had been hit in the belly with a baseball bat." He genuinely feared Ford would change his mind. Stagecoach grossed nearly $1 million by year's end. It earned 7 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. Won 2 Oscars. Orson Welles watched it over 40 times while preparing Citizen Kane. The New York Daily News wrote this: "John Wayne is so good in the role of the outlaw that one wonders why he has had to wait all this time since the big trail for such another opportunity." When Wayne invited Republic executives to the premiere, their response was dismissive. "If they want Westerns, they'd better let us make them." The man paid $3,700 had just saved John Ford's career and launched his own. But his biggest shame was still coming, and it would haunt him until the day he died. Number 7. America's greatest war hero, who never went to war at Pearl Harbor. John Wayne was 34 years old, married with 4 children. He had a 3A family deferment. His career had just finally launched with Stagecoach. Every incentive pointed towards staying home. U.S. National Archives records show Wayne applied to the Office of Strategic Services. Commander William Donovan approved the application, but the acceptance letter was allegedly sent to his estranged wife's address. It never reached him. Wayne claimed she wouldn't let him get the essential documents he had left at home. When asked about enlisting, Wayne repeatedly said this: "I plan on enlisting after 1 or 2 more films." The films kept coming. Republic Pictures head Herbert Yates filed a 2A deferment on Wayne's behalf, support of national interest. He threatened to sue if Wayne broke his contract. The comparison with his peers was devastating. James Stewart was the first major star to enlist after Pearl Harbor. Initially rejected for being underweight, he gained pounds through milkshakes, became a combat pilot, flew 20 missions over Europe, earned 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, eventually became a brigadier general. Clark Gable enlisted at 41 after his wife Carol Lombard died. Flew 5 combat missions as a gunner, while Hitler offered $5,000 for his capture. Wayne did USO tours instead. According to Gary Wills in John Wayne's America, Wayne was greeted by boos from war-hardened vets on USO stages in Australia and the Pacific. Wayne confided to a friend, "I better go do some touring. I can feel the draft board breathing down my neck." Third wife, Pilar Wayne, later explained he would become a super patriot for the rest of his life, trying to atone for staying home. At gatherings of Ford's wartime colleagues, Wayne would hang around for a while, mingle stiffly, and leave at the easiest opportunity. The guilt never lifted. America's greatest cinematic soldier never wore a real uniform, and the shame followed him to his grave. Number 8. The Conqueror killed 91 people, and Howard Hughes tried to bury the evidence in summer. 1954, 220 cast and crew members traveled to the Escalante Desert near St. George, Utah. They were filming The Conqueror, a $6 million epic starring John Wayne as Genghis Khan. The location was 137 miles downwind from the Nevada test site, where more than 100 nuclear bombs had been detonated between 1951 and 1962. The Atomic Energy Commission assured producer Howard Hughes the area was completely safe. A photograph shows Wayne and his two sons watching a crew member adjust a Geiger counter. It crackled so loudly, Wayne thought it was broken. Moving, it produced identical, alarming readings. For 13 weeks, temperatures reached 120 degrees. Constant wind kicked up radioactive dust. Cast and crew were hosed down at the end of each day. Director Dick Powell wore a surgical face mask. Then Hughes shipped 60 tons of contaminated Utah soil back to Hollywood for studio reshoots. People magazine's November 10th, 1980 investigation documented the outcome of the 220 people who worked on location. 91 developed cancer, 41%, 46 died from cancer, 21%. The expected cancer rate for a group that size would have been approximately 30 cases. The victims included nearly every major participant. Director Dick Powell died of lymphoma in 1963. Actor Pedro Armendariz shot himself in 1963 after learning his cancer was terminal. Agnes Moorehead, a non-smoker, teetotaler, and health fanatic, died of uterine cancer in 1974. Her mother maintained until death that the film killed her. Susan Hayward developed 4 types of cancer: skin, breast, uterine, brain. Died in 1975. Her son, Tim Barker, told reporters, "My mother was pathetic at the end. She was in a fetal position, she had lost her swallowing reflex, she had pneumonia, and she had lost her hair." Dr. Robert Pendleton, University of Utah radiologist, stated in 1980, "With these numbers, this case could qualify as an epidemic. I think the tie-in to their exposure on the set of The Conqueror would hold up in a court of law." Hughes's response was extraordinary. He bought every existing print for $12 million. Kept the film out of circulation for 21 years. A scientist at the Pentagon's Defense Nuclear Agency summarized the situation. "Please, God, don't let us have killed John Wayne." But they had. The cancer was already growing. Number 9. 5 packs a day. Entire lung removed. Kept smoking anyway. John Wayne smoked 5 to 6 packs of unfiltered Camel cigarettes daily for over 40 years. His technique was legendary. He used 1 match per day for his first cigarette, then lit each subsequent cigarette from the one before it. In 1952, he appeared in Camel advertisements, saying this, "Mild and good-tasting pack after pack, and I know I've been smoking them for 20 years." In September 1964, a routine chest X-ray revealed a tumor the size of a golf ball. On September 16th, at Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles, surgeons performed a 6-hour operation. They removed his entire left lung and 2 to 4 ribs. 1 day post-surgery, Wayne coughed so violently he ruptured his stitches. His face and hands swelled. Doctors waited 5 days before draining fluid and repairing the damage. On December 29th, 1964, Wayne held a press conference at his Encino ranch. His publicists wanted him to keep the diagnosis secret. Wayne refused. "Isn't there a good image in John Wayne beating cancer? Sure, I licked the big C." The statement is credited with coining the term, the big C, for cancer. His daughter Asa later noted this was the only time she ever heard her father say the word. Wayne made anti-smoking PSAs for the American Cancer Society. "My biggest fight wasn't in pictures. He urged viewers to get regular checkups, jokingly threatened them, 'If you don't donate, I'm gonna kick you in the butt.' But he never actually quit tobacco. According to his daughter Asa's memoir, for years while my father drank tequila, smoked Camels, and later smoked thin cigars, even after getting lung cancer. Multiple sources confirm he stopped cigarettes, but quickly resumed chewing tobacco and smoking cigars. His diminished lung capacity left him severely short of breath, requiring supplemental oxygen. Yet, he continued using tobacco products until his death. The man who licked the big C never stopped feeding it." Number 10. Wetsuit under tuxedo. At Oscars, dead 63 days later. John Wayne won his only competitive Academy Award on April 7th, 1970, age 62, for playing one-eyed Marshall Rooster Cogburn in True Grit. After 35 years in Hollywood and only 2 previous nominations, it was widely considered a sympathy vote. Barbra Streisand handed him the statue. Wayne quipped in his acceptance speech, "Wow, if I'd have known that I would have put that patch on 35 years earlier." 9 years later, on April 9th, 1979, Wayne made his final public appearance, the 51st Academy Awards. He had received radiation treatment that morning. In January, surgeons had discovered stomach cancer during what was supposed to be routine gallbladder surgery. They removed his entire stomach in a 9.5-hour operation. By April, he was dying. Co-star Claire Trevor observed he could barely walk. Wayne arrived at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion at 4:30 p.m., immediately taken backstage to rest. To disguise how much weight he had lost, he wore a wetsuit under his tuxedo to fill out his clothes. The fact that he didn't look unnaturally proportioned revealed how thin he had actually become. When Wayne walked on stage to present Best Picture, the audience erupted in a standing ovation. Wayne, visibly emotional, said this, "That's just about the only medicine a fellow would really ever need. Believe me when I tell you that I'm mighty pleased that I can amble down here tonight." He continued, "Well, Oscar and I have something in common. Oscar first came to the Hollywood scene in 1928. So did I. We're both a little weather-beaten, but we're still here and plan to be around for a whole lot longer." After presenting the award to the deer hunter, Wayne collapsed backstage in anguish. On May 26th, his 72nd birthday, Congress awarded him the Congressional Gold Medal. Wayne died on June 11th, 1979 at 5:23 p.m. at UCLA Medical Center, 63 days after the Oscars. He had converted to Roman Catholicism shortly before death. His last documented words came when his daughter Isa asked if he knew who she was. Wayne replied, "Of course I know who you are. You're my girl. I love you." He then fell into a sleep from which he never woke. Isa held his hand. Noting that even cancer hadn't ravaged that part of him, his hands were still huge and all-encompassing. The 13-pound baby whose mother didn't give a damn, who wore a wetsuit to hide his dying body, opened his eyes one last time, recognized his daughter, and let go. From a 13-pound baby whose mother said, "I don't give a damn," to a name he never chose and never liked. From too terrified to admit a body surfing accident to crying on set for the only man who could break him. From 9 years making ATB westerns to $3,700 for the film that made him famous. From America's greatest war hero who never served to 91 cancer victims from a radioactive film set. From 5 packs a day and an entire lung removed to keeping smoking anyway. From a wetsuit under a tuxedo at the Oscars to dead 63 days later. John Wayne's story proves something Hollywood never wanted to admit. The toughest man on screen was terrified his whole life. Terrified to tell his coach the truth. Terrified Ford would change his mind. Terrified of the draft board. Terrified of the big C. But he showed up anyway, with one lung, with stomach cancer, with a wetsuit under his clothes, because the 13-pound baby, whose mother didn't give a damn, spent his entire life proving he was worth something, and 50 years later, we're still watching. If John Wayne's journey from rejected child to American icon inspired you, you're going to want to see next week's video. We're covering another legend who lived an impossible life your generation remembers, but never really knew. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And if you've got your own memories of watching John Wayne on screen, share them in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.